Hey, good evening, everybody. Uneducated economist here. So I love living in the Pacific Northwest. This is one of the coolest places in the whole world. The weather takes a little getting used to, but the nice days are super nice, and the people here are really cool. You know, like, they talk to you like they know you, right? And even though, like, we can legally pump our own gas, we don't, right? Nobody, like, at least not in Oregon, we don't pump our own gas, and at least not in my little corner of Oregon. So, yeah, you literally drive up to the pumps, rain or shining, guy comes running out, says, ask you how much you want. It's really cool. And the people here, they're really nice, and they get obsessed, right? Whether it's cars or hunting or fishing or whatever, they get obsessed about whatever it is they're into. And there's two things that the Pacific Northwest is really into. One of them is coffee, and the other one is beer, right? And I remember, like, when I was a kid, there was only, like, maybe, like, one coffee stand that you could go and get coffee at, right? And it was parked in front of the mini mart. And there would always be a line there of people getting lattes and mochas and stuff like that. And then I remember as, like, you know, by the mid-90s, like, there was just tons of coffee stands. There was coffee drive-through stands all over the county. And then, like, after the recession, like, there was less coffee stands. Like, they all kind of faded away. And then there was only, like, I think there's only, like, two drive-through coffee stands, 2 or 3 coffee stands now that you can drive through in Astoria. You know, there's quite a few of them in the county. But, you know, in Astoria, there's, like, only 3 of them. And most of them have moved into, the coffee shops. And, like, coffee has become more of, like, the social sit-down hangout. And the grab a coffee and go, that's not so much anymore, even though that's still, you know, pretty good business here. But people are literally, like, going to the coffee shops to get their coffee instead of going to coffee stands more. And it was neat to watch that business cycle take place. And I'm seeing it happen now with beer, right? So, like, microbrews are happening everywhere. The Pacific Northwest has blown up with microbreweries. And so it was no surprise to me when I found this article that says Bridgeport Brewing Company in Portland to close. And it says the brewery opened up in 1984. And the guy kind of goes on to explain here. He says, you continue to have new breweries open this last year. We had a series of wonderful breweries that opened, all were said. And you get a crowded and more crowded marketplace, and these older legacy breweries, if they are not nimble at making changes to be relevant, it becomes more and more difficult for them to stay in the people's consciousness. So, like, you know, if there's so much microbrews out there and there's so much competition, there's so much variety, people start going out and, like, you know, trying all the different microbrews that are going on out there. And if you end up getting, like, literally these big guys got lost in a sea of microbrews, you know, and they're not the only ones. Like, they're, you know, Bridgeport isn't, so it's not like they're only the only model, because it says here Widmer, right? The Widmer brothers are shutting down their pub. Now their brewery is staying open, but they're shutting down the bar itself. And then Burnside Brewing is closing its doors. And so all 3 of these guys, who are pretty popular up here in the Pacific Northwest, they're shutting down part of their businesses, and it's because they're lost in a sea of microbrews. And now, as these microbrews are popping up, I can only assume it's because we're going through this credit expansion that, you know, well, we had gone through this credit expansion, and as these people who are obsessed with their, you know, with their talents, making beer is no exception, you know, and these people who are really good at making beer, well, let's make beer for a living, right? So, you know, they take out credit, start microbrews, and, you know, see where they can go with it. And some of these guys did really good, and, you know, some of them are doing it late in the late game here. So what I'm only suspecting is that as if we kind of go into this contraction, that you're probably going to start seeing a lot more of this taking place, as these microbrews are going to struggle to stay on, and then the bigger guys just simply lost in a sea of competition. So anyway, I think we're experiencing the Northwest brewery bubble pop. Popping. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Uneducated economist.